Immigration is definitely economically beneficial for New Zealand. It makes us a stronger, more vibrant country for the other three C's, but it also economically is incredibly important. If you look at New Zealand over the last few years, outside of the global financial crisis and the earthquakes, we needed skilled people. We didn't have enough in New Zealand. Look, by the end of the John Key Bill English government, we were creating 10,000 new jobs a year. And today, even so, although the economy's come off a little bit, the truth is we have very full employment, low unemployment, and so in many areas, ICT, horticulture, construction, you name it, we need migration coming in. It is good, it makes our economy and therefore our country stronger. I think the plummeting business confidence, in fact consumer confidence as well, is because of a couple of things. One is bad low growth policies, and one is very much the uncertainty created by all the working groups and the lack of direction by the government. In terms of those policies, there are many that are bad and that I think take New Zealand backwards, but one of them is definitely immigration policy incoherence. You know, I think we knew prior to the election where things were at. National was for immigration and more open settings because of the reasons you say, the three C's, but also the economic benefits that come from it. The other parties, Labour, Greens, New Zealand First, were for dramatically reducing immigration. What in fact has happened now is much less clear, and I think it would be a brave person who would try and tell us what the government's immigration policy at the moment is, but that means that businesses find it harder to grow, they don't know what to do, and individuals can't plan with any certainty around what they do. I feel very strongly that international private education has been good for New Zealand. Yes, there's always some issues and then things you can improve, but what is also true, it has been a several billion-dollar sector for New Zealand. One of the problems with the government that I think they need to think about solving is it's easy to say we won't do oil and gas, we won't do mining, we're not sure about dairy farming anymore, we don't want international private education. That is easy. What is hard is to find the things to replace them, to keep an economy growing so that New Zealanders have good incomes and lifestyles here rather than what we're seeing as people move to Australia. And so I want to make sure actually we are pro sectors, because all of those sectors are required to make a strong, vibrant economy and ultimately to mean people have great opportunities here in New Zealand rather than Australia or Asia. My very clear view about New Zealand is that one of our long-term problems is Kiwis leaving in big numbers. In fact, in my life, I'm 41, only 4 or 5 years were more Kiwis and Aussies coming here than leaving. We closed that up in the key years. More were coming back because of a strong economy, 10,000 jobs a month. Right now though, last week's statistics, New Zealand told us 2,500 net have left for Australia. I want to lead a government that brings people back, whether they're from Asia, from other parts of the world, or whether they're Kiwis who want to come back but know they need good jobs with good wages, with lower taxes, so that they can afford to live here and have the lifestyles maybe they've been having in Australia or Hong Kong or Britain. You're right, because the reality is our system is MMP, and that does by definition mean compromise and agreements being reached. But be clear, there is a difference between us and Labour. There is a difference between us and the Green Party and us and the New Zealand First. We are the only big party that has said we want to keep immigration going. We believe in open settings. We know that means stronger economy, better vibrancy, higher standard of living for New Zealanders. They disagree with that. So for Labour, this was an easy issue to give ground on because they wanted to see the numbers go that way. That wasn't true for us. And we would make sure in coalition arrangements, we were leading from the front. Actually, if we're with a partner who's 5, 6, 7% of the vote, that means they get 5, 6, 7% of the say, not actually President Peters who gets the veto on all of these things. that's not the way to do it. So I'm saying to you, actually, we'll stay pro-immigration. We're not going to change on that.
Even if you partner with New Zealand first?
Absolutely. We think it's important. It's required for the economic strength and the vibrancy of New Zealand. And we will make sure that any minor parties we coalesce with have only the power of their numbers, and it's not the tail wagging the dog. But no ifs, no buts, we will do this. We will ensure there is, I think the big question is resourcing, money, to make sure actually in our schools around New Zealand people get a second language, because what we know is for little children, whether they're European, whether they're Maori, whether they are Indian, whether they are Chinese, this helps their brain develop, and of course it is a cultural and economic competency to have another language. And so whether it's Hindi or Mandarin or Te Reo, we will make sure we do it because we think it's the right thing to do.
So when you...
I understand there's no easy answer to this issue. It is complicated. I think the truth is, there will never be a perfect fit between us wanting strong, contributing immigrants with ICT skills and many other areas, and then of course the natural desire for those immigrants, wherever they come from, to have their family close to them. But knowing, of course, that if you are talking about an older immigrant, there will be real costs involved in that. And so I don't have the perfect answer of where exactly that balance should be. I understand the need for some compassion, but also hard-headedness on this issue. I think it will always be a tricky balance that any government won't get perfectly right from a new immigrant's perspective. We'll continue to look and think it through. I must be honest with you, I don't know the details of the policy perfectly, and you're right, it's definitely something that is raised a lot from valued members of our immigrant communities. Be open to that. I don't think it's something, again, I thought a lot about, I don't know if that in itself is the main issue. When I talk to immigrants from all around the world, but certainly from Asian countries, they want to see a strong economy with good settings, lower tax, that allows them to get ahead and to do well. National's the party for that. The other one I hear a lot is concern around law and order. Many people from other parts of the world, they come here and they say, wow, you're very lenient on these things, you're not strong enough. Well, National is the party that believes in being tough on crime and the cause of crime, having, if we have to make a choice, more in prison rather than more victims on the street. So I think what I'm saying to you is there are several big issues that are important to our migrant communities. National will stand up for them and for immigration and for migrants, whether it is through a specific minister in office or whether it's something short of that. Look, it's worth again just thinking through. But I don't know if it is the top issue though. More police is an important part of this, because if you don't have the police, you won't catch the criminals who are doing the robberies, the aggravated robberies, the burglars on the superettes, the dairies, our homes, the violent criminals and so on. So more police is important. But what I know is right now, under this government, they have a plan to reduce the sentences, the parole, the bail in the prison. And what is the point of having more police if all they are going to do is like a fish out at the sea, catch it and then release it? That will mean more victims. And so National is fighting hard to ensure we keep 3 strikes laws, so the most serious offenders stay in jail, and we don't soften up the sentences and the bail and the parole, because that will mean there is no deterrence for people who are considering the robberies of the superettes and the dairies. So we're tough on crime. If you do the crime, you need to do the time. Actually, if you're talking robbery, aggravated robbery, burglary, that's serious. This is intimidating. Even if there's no actual violence, but you come in with a baseball bat, that person should go to jail. We won't soften up the laws. We'll make sure that they do in those appropriate cases, so that there are fewer victims in our dairies, our superettes, our homes. Wonderful. It's an interesting point you make. I can tell you, I was once under the Minister for, we called it then Labour, but Workplace Relations as it is called today in Health and Safety. I am proud that I started that increase in the resourcing of the labour inspectors and so on to make sure actually we are catching this secretive underground exploitation of, as you say, migrant workers, sometimes by people who were once migrants themselves but are now established New Zealand business people. I think what you say is an interesting idea. I would challenge you a bit because I think in truth, if you are talking about migrant exploitation at the most serious levels, there already will be criminal penalties and the ability in those most serious cases to see them go to jail. I'm always open though to looking at whether we have the right criminal offences and penalties to match the crimes, because I think you're right. For serious repeat offenders who are continuously exploiting migrant workers,
They just change name,
it
form another company and establish another restaurant.
and it cannot be just like I said before, like the fish who got away, tag and then release. It will need to be more serious. I think right now, if you are talking at the serious levels of, you know, what some would call slavery or serious labour law infractions and so on, there will be criminal penalties warranting jail at the current time. They may not be used sufficiently, and that is, you know, a question to be. But as I say, I would be open in the most serious cases were there not the offences and the penalties there to look at that.